Thank you very much. Actually, I learned a lot from your sharing today. I never thought from the title itself, very pessimistic. Now we are not pessimistic anymore. We are very optimistic. There's a progress going to the image of the perfection in the Holy Trinity. Wow. So something that I learned today, and I'm pretty sure people who have questions to ask, if you have questions, feel free. And then also people online, if you can also direct your questions to Dr. Thomas Chai, please be free and be very progressive. Yes.
So the conclusion is not pessimistic. It's optimistic, can I say, or realistic with hope. So that is the conclusion. It's not at all. It's just the opposite of pessimistic. Through Ricci, Aquinas, and Pantoja, all their life examples and researchers, both three of them, they reached the conclusion that yes, there is a way out. So my question is, I am reminded of this because you mentioned about this gradual progression to perfection in the Christian tradition. This book, Paul Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress, which is a journey of a Christian trying to attain perfection. And on the journey, he met with ups and downs, difficulties. But however, I think towards the end, he attained it somehow with grace, you mentioned. So for Christian, it is not just sheer human efforts. According to Confucius or Mencius, by sheer human efforts, man can do it. But for Christians, it's like, no, we need God's grace. So my question is, because I'm reminded of the conversion of Saul to Paul. I'm reminded of Augustine, this journey of conversion. They all needed grace. Their encounter with the risen Lord, grace. Yeah. Okay. So somehow, and Augustine, Paul, so because all the time, I said, without grace, can man truly attain to perfection, even without the Holy Trinity? Because non-Christians, they don't believe in the Holy Trinity. These are by my own efforts, 人定胜天, I can do it. I don't need God. So all this, how do you cultivate virtues facing vices? For example, the 7 virtues. As last time you mentioned in the Dante's Paradiso, this divine comedy, and going through purgatory, hell, and then heaven. Now, this progression also, I say something. So once more, my question is, if without grace, because for non-believers, they don't believe in God, they don't believe in Christ, they don't believe in life after death. But as I understand from your lecture, the Mencius, Confucius is okay. Human beings can do it. That's it. So so I hope you understand my question. Yeah. How can we dialogue with Mencius? On the one hand, to respect Mencius, Confucius, because they haven't encountered, they know nothing about Jesus. However, now for Christians, we are in a better position, you may say, with all these saints and so on. But from sinners to saints, that gulf, so once more, for them, it seems in the end, is it pessimistic or optimistic? For Christian, very clear is optimistic. But even Wang Yangming, you have this neo-Confucianism, any signs in the researches of Wang Yangming's writing is that, yeah, we can do it. Even without God, put God aside, man can do it. We can be saved. With all this, what do you call, to attain humility, of reconciliation, peace, diligence, poverty, temperance, chastity. We don't need grace. We just do it on our own, and that's enough.
For this question, I think Augustine used to say that for pagans, they do not have true virtue. The reason is that, as I mentioned, that because their final orientation is not in the final end of these acts and the actions are not God Himself. And in the early modern period, a Dominican theologian called Domingo Banya, who actually was not very friendly to Jesuits, but he discussed the state of unbelievers. And he said that one point, usually not noted by theologians of his time or in the previous centuries, is that we are the image of God. That's in the context of discussing in the context of discussing the state of unbelievers. That means why the unbelief is a sin. He said that a thing we usually forgot is we are the image of God. The unbelievers are the image of God as well. Since they are the image of God and they have the conscience, which implanted by God in each of us. So this is his idea of those people who are unbelievers, and they have the conscience, and if they follow the conscience, let's follow the law of nature. He thinks that that's good for them. But the condition for him is that these people never heard about Christian faith. Okay, so if you hear Christian faith and you voluntarily refuse to accept it, it will be a problem. But if you never heard about Christian faith, okay, like before Matthew Ricci come to China, people never know Christian faith. If people never heard about the gospel, they have the law of nature, which is implanted by God in them, and which is ultimately related our state of being the image of God. So I think the image of God, this is why I think the image of God can be an important theme in our reflection of the state of our human nature, and in our discussion of the state of those people who never heard about Christian faith.
My question would be in line with how we can give hope to other people aside from the discussion and the dialogue in the culture and Christianity, theology, the kind of hope that we want to give to people. How would that be, since they don't believe in, say, in a God, but the nature is there, human nature is there. How can we, say, promote hope, that there's still hope in them?
Oh, this is a challenging question.
Yeah.
I think one of the ways is that we go back to the natural law. That means even though they do not accept the supernatural revelation, there's still something implanted in the heart of every human beings. I think Thomas Aquinas used to mention that if you want to discussion with an unbeliever, never debate with him about the supernatural doctrines, because you don't have the same foundations, you don't have the same presumptions, you cannot continue your dialogue. So in this way, I think we start from something God implanted in the heart of each person, like to avoid evil, and we should acquire virtue, we should acquire good, and we should avoid evil. And we can start it from the topics like this, and let everybody knows that we are, no matter you are Christian or not, we are children of God, right? Because He implanted this image, this likeness of us in each person, and continue do what you can do, and maybe we can achieve something later which is unexpected.
Can you say something about this? Aleni, in 1631, you mentioned about subduing human nature, 克服人心,
克性,
克性, and overcoming oneself, 克胜自己, 克己. Now, According to Aleni, in your researches, can you say something more? How do you subdue this human nature? How do you overcome self? Is it similar to Christian virtues? How you cultivate virtues? How do you? Can you say something more?
Yes, about overcome yourself,
Yes.
overcome self. This is similar to the Christian practice of courage, overcome. This is the same thing. And actually, in 论语, there's a 克己复礼. So I think the Jesuits, it's easier for Jesuits to match these two ideas. Vincere se and vincere and 克己, something like that. So they match it. It's easy for them to match it. I think overcome self is also a topic in Western spirituality. In the Society of Jesuits, particularly at that time, this is also a way of achieve perfection, I think, and overcome self. And 克信 is not on the same level because 克己 you have different practices. Okay, but 克信, I think, in some sense, 克信, overcome your nature, must be achieved by overcome yourself. But why they say you should overcome yourself? Because Confucianism says that you should follow your nature. Yeah. So they think follow the nature is wrong because nature is corrupt. So you should say that overcome it. Okay, so this is the reason I think they proposed this idea. But I think overcome nature must be achieved by overcome yourself, right? Yeah.
My final question on Pantoja. You mentioned about Pantoja, an explanation of the origin of the race, of the human race. You mentioned about the 7 victories. What are the 7 victories?
Oh, 7 victories, that's victories over 7 mortal sins. This is a book composed by Pantoja. Yes. Okay. This is a book more about how we can overcome ourselves.
So he
Overcome our mortal sins.
overcome
Our sins, yes, mortal sins. He discussed what are these sins and how we can overcome one by one.
So in Chinese, what
七课, 7 victories. 七课.
So, since the conclusion was given that we are not pessimistic, so
But still need God's grace.
at the time we are hopeful,
Hopeful.
optimistic because of God's grace. I think the topic today very relevant to us as we experience. This one question.
Also consider taking into consideration insights of Xunzi. It's famous for making a proposition that our nature is actually not very good. Maybe it's bad. Now, I don't have much study of Xunzi, but I don't think Xunzi's proposition of that human nature is not good. It's the same as Christian understanding of the corrupt nature, because for Christianity, we have the story of Adam's fall and a theology based on how his human nature is, his corrupted human nature is transmitted to all of us, to all of our offspring of Adam. So I think even though Xunzi says that human nature is not good, that is not the same mode as the Christian understanding of our corrupt human nature, which is transmitted from the first parent of human being. So this is a little bit different. But for more details, I'm not very sure about how Xunzi argued for our human nature is not good.
I have a question.
James Young, yes, please.
Yes, I have a question. So I think the people I meet, I deal with, and I see most of them are good people. They're kind, compassionate. So from this experience, I conclude that your title is wrong. So the Catholic theology is about optimistic human nature. So what do you think?
The title is wrong.
Yes.
It should
So
be
most of the people I
Catholically
meet, I deal with,
optimistic.
I see are good people. The majority of them, 80%, 90%. So they're good people. And then how they say that the good people with a bad human nature? So your title should be the Catholic theology is optimistic about human nature. What do you think, sir?
Why I take this title pessimistic, because we start from the usual understanding of human nature in Christianity, or people's impression of Christians' idea of human nature. Because usually we think that because human nature, our human nature is corrupted by Adam's sin, we have original sin, so we are sinners, and we cannot find any good in our human nature. And that's the reason why at the beginning I mentioned that a version from strict Augustinianism, which denies that non-believers, non-Christians can do anything good. So I think the starting point is from this general impression of Christianity. So I give the title why the Christianity is pessimistic about human nature. There's a reason why I went this way rather than optimistic.
And also another point. I think when we're keeping all this talk, I would like you to stress more on the positive nature, positive side, positive ideas of human nature or all things around us. Don't spread all these pessimistic and the negative ideas. Okay, sir?
We should.
No, you were talking about all this pessimistic. This is negative.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about more than positive nature, positive ideas of people. Okay, don't spread all these negative ideas. We have too many of these negative ideas, sir. Understand? So when you have a chance, you talk in universities, your professor, and you always spread all these negative ideas. That's no good for any one of us, especially you young students. Okay, please take my advice.
Thank you for being so hopeful that we can be very positive in our teachings, with our church teachings, and also our presentation. It's a very good suggestion, but at least I would say, support of Dr. Thomas, that we got your attention. So it's supposed to be positive, but since we did it the other way around, pessimistic, we got your attention. Now, thank you for the support that we should be very positive, very optimistic. That could change our title in the future. And also, we're in the progress, in a process or progressive way to attain what we want to present. Well, thank you very much for the recommendation, the advice. Thank you very much, James.
Yes, thank you very much for your humility. Your humility is a good example. Thank you very much.
Thank you too, with God's grace. So it's been very delightful evening that we have Dr. Thomas Cai with us to share the positive side of, the conclusion being very positive, that after all, Catholic theology is very optimistic. The title may sound negative, but the conclusion is we're very optimistic. We'd like just to thank Dr. Thomas Cai for the presentation, the beautiful, wonderful presentation that really inspire us to be positive. And also thank you for people joining us today, and also online. There are questions and suggestions that would help us really rethink our way of dealing Catholic theology, as well as other Chinese philosophers and thinkers. So it's a good way for us to start a dialogue or continue the dialogue. We're in a process of the dialogue with Christian religion and Chinese philosophy. So thank you for everything. We also thank the staff for making it possible for us to have it online.